Welcome to Legend Makers, the podcast where education's true heroes take center stage. And we are back with another episode of the Legend Makers podcast. Sitting in front of me today is Dr. Jeff Zwiebel. Jeff, nice to meet you. How you doing?
Good, Scott. It's good to be with you. Thank you.
It's not to meet you. We had a nice conversation a couple of weeks ago, and I went, you know what? This conversation's going so well. I thought maybe we should have you over here and let's let everybody else kind of enjoy the way we were hashing things out. So I thought that was really cool, and it's a pleasure to see you again.
Yeah, it's great to be with you again, Scott. Looking forward to our conversation.
Yeah, likewise. So I'm going to give, I always start off with kind of one of these little bios here. And so here's what I got. You've got over 3 decades inside public ed, including 9 years serving as a superintendent in the PA school district. And you can talk about that.
Mm-hmm.
The bottom line is you don't theorize about how schools work. You've lived it. And that's what I think is important. You've managed budgets. You've dealt with board politics. You've handled, real crises at schools, and you've made the exact kinds of purchasing decisions that like EdTech companies are trying to influence every day. Mm-hmm. This will get to kind of what you're doing today. You approach student safety and wellness not as buzzwords or product categories, but as real operational challenges. And you've actually sat in the seat and been the person responsible when something goes wrong. So people out there, if you're building an education, selling into schools, or leading within a district, this is a chance to hear directly from someone who has sat in the seat, made the calls, and now helps others navigate those same decisions from the outside. Now, that's pulled from kind of your LinkedIn profile. Why don't you tell us who you are for real?
Oh, thank you. So, I've an interesting journey to get where I'm at today. I was an educator for 31 years in PA. Came from a family of educators, actually. Mm-hmm. And, when I went to college, I thought I was going to be like the next rock drummer. I was a musician. I majored in music ed. Yes. So,
Whoa, wait, we didn't even go there. Wait,
no, I know. I would kind of want to weave that in here. So,
okay. All right.
Yeah. All right. So, 18 years old, you go to college, you think, I'm going to play. That's how I'm going to make my living. And then, reality kind of hits you, and you see you're not the most talented guy in the room. There are a lot of other folks. But I really got a taste for education. The one summer I taught high school drumline, local high school. And, at first I just kind of did it for experience, make a couple bucks. But that fall, when I saw them perform on the field, it just kind of hit me like, wait a minute, I had a little bit of a hand in that product. Hey, the kids listen to me. Hey, they sound good out there. And that's kind of when the switch flipped, like, teaching might be the route for me to go in. And then, of course, fast forward, I was a high school band director for about 7 years. Then a middle school band director, and then I made the jump into administration around about 9.5, 10 years into my ed career. But I started out as a high school band
want to be
director.
Rock drummer?
I wanted to be a rock drummer, and my
who was your influence?
So initially, love Buddy Rich. Like, what drummer doesn't like Buddy Rich? For jazz. But I was a huge Van Halen fan.
Okay. All right.
To the point that I had someone I knew. I had a cover, took my drum set to college with me, and it was in the closet. That's where I practiced, in this instrument closet. But I had the old Van Halen logo spray painted on this cover, so everybody knew it was my drum set. So we didn't quite get there, obviously.
Did you wait? I'm so sorry, because I was in a band myself. So I was a singer in a band. I had hair, I had the eyeliner, I had the boots, I had the whole nine. I was like that guy, looked like glam rock, right? So, and did you actually play out in? Did you ever were you ever in a band that played local circuit or anything like that?
Not from a rock band standpoint.
No, okay.
I filled in with a local band was kind of a variety band, did a lot of weddings and things like that. So that involved playing a lot of pop and polkas. So
Oh,
Northeastern
you
PA, you have to know how to play polka. So
oh
I actually covered
jeez.
for a buddy of mine when he went overseas during our winter break in college. So for about 6 weeks, I subbed with this local band, but I didn't have,
Uh-huh.
the hair, the
You didn't have all
eyeliner.
that.
Nah, that wouldn't
Yeah,
have gone
those
over
those
well at home.
those pick yeah, mine didn't either, trust me. I remember I was just telling somebody the other day, my father had I hadn't seen him in a while, and I went off to college and really got into it. And the hair just went up and the makeup went on. And this is like
Mhm.
1985. My father came up to like take me out to lunch once. He hadn't seen me in a while. And he was like, I remember my dad was old school. He was a military guy, you know. I remember the look he gave me, like whoopsie daisy. He just
Is
didn't
this
know what
what
to
we're
make of
paying
me.
for?
He just didn't know he was so it was so far away from what he so okay. Anyway, we digress. So
Yeah,
you are the middle school band director, you're doing that, and then you enter into so that's how you got into you said your family was in education as well.
yeah. Both my parents were teachers, and
Okay.
and I initially said like, that's not for me.
Mm-hmm.
I heard all the positives, but the negatives, obviously, that
Yeah.
come with that too. But again, once I taught that first high school drum line, that just kind of hooked me. And then the
Mm-hmm.
following summer, I taught, I think, three or four different drum lines, and I was really into it. And I
Cool.
took over a program that was rock bottom. And
Oh yeah.
I remember, yes, the assistant principal came in one day, and I was sending letters out to students who had dropped out like 2, 3 years before, like trying to entice band members to come back. And he was watching rehearsals someday. He goes, "Well, good luck, Jeff." He said, "I don't know if anybody told you, but if you can't resurrect it, we're just going to eliminate the music program."
Oh. Oh
No,
geez.
no pressure. But when I left 7 years later, we had really grown the band, and the
Nice.
gentleman who was my assistant at the time took over for me, and that was back in the summer of 1997. He's still there, and he took the band to a whole other level. So
Wonderful. What school district was this?
it was a Pine Grove Area School District, small town.
In PA?
Yep, in Western Schuylkill County. So yeah,
Yeah.
so when I saw the impact that I could have on kids. That just
Uh-huh.
really whet the appetite. And then I wanted to do the same thing on the administrative side, but for staff members as well, and just kind of work my way up through the ranks to superintendent. And that was just a whole other different experience.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Yeah,
mean, for sure, right? I mean, going from band director to super and tell me
yeah.
about that. Like tell me more. What was that like for you?
Well, they often say superintendent is like the loneliest job that there is, or
Hmm.
whenever you hear like or CEO, it's lonely at
Yeah.
the top.
It's the top, right.
It is. You
Tell me more. Yeah.
you get in that situation, suddenly it's like everything rests with me. I'm going to end up, plotting the course for the next however many years, and you know, anything good happens, that's great. Obviously, when anything bad happens, it's the superintendent's fault, whether I was involved or not. It was the superintendent's fault, but it came with the territory, and
Mm-hmm.
I learned a lot, an awful lot during that experience. Scott, we experienced some severe financial issues towards the end of my superintendency.
Mm.
And I don't remember if I mentioned this in the conversation we had prior, but my last act as a superintendent was I had to trim $1.7 million out of a 30 plus $1 million budget.
Wow. Yeah.
And you only get that in people and programs. That's not paper and pens and, paper or ink cartridge. So,
So you're sitting there and you've got to make this decision and it's people and programs and you've got to carve 1.7 million out of that budget.
yep. And
Hmm.
and we did it. And again, of course, this was the height of the pandemic. Obviously, people weren't happy. And excuse me, I explained, look, if we want to have a future here, unfortunately, we have to take these steps. Otherwise, the future looks bleak. Now, this is before there was any talk of, any ESSER money, coming from the federal government and all that.
Mm-hmm.
But after that point, I ran into some health issues, and
Huh.
I had to walk away at that point. So
Hmm.
there were a lot of lessons learned during that, and that time recovering, learned a lot about myself, a lot about leadership, and was able to really take a wider lens look at education and what was taking place in education, and what are some things, would I have done anything differently, or could I have done anything differently? You question yourself a
Yeah,
lot
for sure. Yeah, yeah. Right.
when you get in that space. um
Talk about like where you were and what you were thinking. Like you, so you have this perspective now.
yep.
You're so hindsight's 2020, right? You're looking at it. You're doing a lot of deep postmortems and all this. And
Yes. Yes.
where's your head? What are you thinking about? Like what did you go through? Can you talk about some of that? Are you able to?
Yeah. um So, the first thought was, and I ended up retiring about 2 years or so earlier than what I had planned.
Mhm.
So, I think I was 51, and I'm like, well,
Okay.
I'm not just going to stop. I need to
Right.
do something. Um, but the initial thought was, how about a job where I'm not working with people at all? I'll drive a forklift in a warehouse, something that I could just
Was
put
the was it so was
blinders
the
on.
was it because you were so was the were you a little bit of in the shell shock era? I mean, I know what you're saying. It's I get it. I understand
Yeah.
this. I do. So if I can maybe help formulate this, is that
Yep.
to your point, lonely at the top. And I know there's probably people that are going to superintendent, oh, you get paid well, but you're right. The good is good and the bad is bad. And you take it all,
Right.
right?
Well, yep.
As the old expression goes, where did I hear this? A fish rots from the head. And that's what people will say. Like, if the school's buffering, it's going to be your fault. So that's a lot
Yep.
of weight to carry, right? It's a lot
Sure.
to carry. And when you come out of that, and there's a lot of interpersonal stuff that happens, good stuff, right? You meet some
Yep.
great people, you're exposed to some amazing people, and you have great relationships with some really,
Yes.
really smart, awesome people. And then there's other sides of things, and I'm not saying people bad people, but when you mention something, people and programs. So I'm sure you had to sit on the other side of a table and tell somebody they no longer have a job.
Yeah.
That's one of the hardest things you ever have to do to in your life, is to
100%.
have that. Can you imagine? I mean, knowing the feeling of leading up to that conversation when you don't want to do it. It's not because they didn't perform well. It's not because
Right.
it's just because you don't have. That's the choice that needs to be made, and unfortunately, they're the victims of it. So I get it. When
Yeah.
you've been through
Yeah.
that ringer, you just sometimes want to go and do things that are, like you said, maybe even go drive a forklift in a warehouse sounds really appealing right now, because I can just do the job and then leave it at the job and not have to
Yes.
think about anything other than, did I smash into any boxes or something?
Yeah. I mean, you described it really well. You begin reflecting, and the other side of the coin, and here's where I feel for superintendents today who may be going through issues, is the forgotten part of that when you're going through something like that is the family. So
Yeah.
our son was a senior, and he was experiencing all the vitriol on Facebook. I didn't do
Mm.
Facebook. He's getting in arguments with people, and like, look, you just stay off social media.
Oh.
People are going to say what they say. But what the public doesn't always understand is there's a personal side with the superintendent too, and that's the family. So
Yeah. Oh yeah.
what I regretted the most was the impact it had on my family. That
For
bothered.
sure.
And
Right. Because they
that's
didn't sign up for that. You did.
right. So
That's it.
that's something you had to, you have to overcome it. And they were tremendous. They stood by me through all that thick and thin. And, a couple months as I started to get my health back again, it's like, some people start to say, well, you're not going to throw away like 31 years, are you? Like, this is what is education.
Right.
You're not going to replace Alex Van Halen and Van Halen. That's He's not giving that drum chair up. And that's when I started really connecting with people on LinkedIn,
Okay.
and just started building up my connections, and thought about, where I know I can still make a difference. Where can I make that difference? What can I do? And that's when I connected with co-founder of a small startup company called Rhythm, and he read my background, and he messaged me back like, "Hey, I'd like to meet with you."
Hmm.
Okay, sure. I picked a time, and it was like a week or so later we met, and next thing I knew, by the end of that call, he's like, "I'd really like for you to come work with us and help sell this wellness check-in tool." And I'm like, "Well, I didn't know that's where we were headed. I need to do a little bit more research
Yeah.
into your company." But we had one or two more conversations, and he said, "I think you bring something authentic." Because I told my story. I'm like, "Hey, if you're
Hmm.
smart, you're going to look me up and see my background." I said, "I'm going to tell you what really happened." And he's like, "That's why I want you, because you're
Huh,
authentic.
interesting.
You understand that." And I always had a passion, Scott, for ed tech. We had started a one-to-one program when I was superintendent, iPads, K to
Hmm.
12, and we obviously worked very closely with Apple on that program. And I was just so impressed of how they helped us lay it all out, and all the
Hmm.
recommendations they made, and so when I got the bug to get back in education, it was like it has to be something in ed tech. uh,
Interesting. Okay.
and obviously, as you well know, the pandemic, all these different ed tech products just exploded, like sales
Sure, they did.
through
Yeah.
the roof because everything's
Crazy.
remote, and districts were just buying, whether it's equipment or software, they were just buying everything up they
Yeah.
could.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I officially retired of April of 2021, and start with an ed tech company the end of June of 2021, and I love it. It's
You
great.
do.
Yes.
Cool. So that's where you are today. And
Yep.
today you're doing, what are you doing? So let's talk about what you're doing right now.
Yeah. So the small company I start with was acquired by Securely about 3.5 years ago. So Securely
Hmm.
started out as the first company to develop the content filter in the cloud.
Hmm.
It was, I think, around 2012 or so. The company launched publicly, selling the filter in the cloud. Now we're a whole student digital wellness suite. So not only do we provide the filter, we provide a product, Securely AI Chat. We have agreements with Google Gemini, ChatGPT. They allow us to put guardrails on their AI engines to help kids to put safe prompts out there, not something
Hmm.
that's inappropriate. So it's really teaching students safe usage of AI in schools.
Hmm. Okay, cool.
Classroom management tool. We have a digital hall pass, which I
Hmm.
would have loved to have when I was a building principal, instead of those
Little
extra
cards.
Google Forms sign out. And but
Yeah.
yeah, so it's just Securely has really evolved into a student digital wellness company. Has grown quite a bit just in my 3.5 years here.
Huh.
Great products, great people. It's a really cool company to work for.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, great. So what key problems are you now focused on as an individual? Because I think it's, I mean, having been in sales, you have to bring some of your personal, biases to it, and so what are you as a, and I think this is a unique perspective that you have, right? So
Yeah.
you've been in the chair, you've purchased, you know what schools are going through, you understand the buying process, you understand the budgeting process,
Yeah.
you understand what key problems are you most interested in addressing today? Like, what are the issues that you're looking to attack?
Yeah, a great question. AI, number one.
Mm-hmm.
I can remember when I was teaching when the internet first came
Yeah.
into schools.
Yeah.
I won't say what year that was,
I was
but
right there.
yeah,
Yeah, I
you
know. I
know,
remember it was a big deal, right? Yeah.
and everybody's thought was, oh, the kids are going to cheat. Oh, well, you don't need teachers anymore. So we fast forward now, and AI is something altogether different.
Mm-hmm.
And the worst thing we can do in education is like, no, keep it away. We're
Mm-hmm.
blocking everything. If we don't teach the kids the proper way to use these tools, then they will abuse the tools. So that's a mission that myself and Securely is on, that to show the students proper way. Here's an appropriate prompt and you'll get the answer that you're looking for. And you don't want to veer off and asking some crazy type questions. yeah, our Aware tool, we scan in Google Drive, OneDrive. We look for signs of suicide ideation, self-harm, bullying, etc. We can now scan AI as well, and students might think, well, you're looking into what I'm doing. The reason why we do it is to keep the kids safe. That's the
Hmm.
bottom line. We just want to make sure that the kids are safely taught to use AI, which helps the district out tremendously. I think, Scott, boy, if I were a principal or superintendent right now, how would I handle this rolling out of the AI? Like,
And
what?
and how would you? I mean, I think that's really it. Like, think about it. You were there and you think about that. So what is your, what would you be thinking today? What would some of your concerns be? I think they're going to be echoed. So let's talk
Yes.
about that. Like, let's put yourself back in the seat.
Yeah.
You know what's going on. Well, what would you be thinking right now?
The first thing I would do with a technology tool like this is I'm pulling my tech director and like, first of all, can we handle this? Are we prepared to handle this? What do we need to do as far as policy? What do I need
Mm,
to inform the board on? What do you and I have to do to better educate our board? Because ultimately, they'll be the ones who will decide and pass or reject a policy regulating AI in the school district. So I would start with tech. The next thing I would do, I would talk to key teachers, whether they're, department heads or lead teachers. What's a good, have you explored the AI? We're looking at it as a district. Is there anything out there you've seen that you might recommend that we check out and maybe
mm,
try? And then go through and vet vendors. Look at, first of all, are they focused on keeping student data privacy? Is that sacred?
mm.
I can tell you it's securely it is. That's number one to us.
Number one, got to be right.
Number one, right. Close second is we have to have the best products, but it's that student data privacy. And there's been so many
Hmm.
articles, the last couple months of student data privacy getting leaked out. So that's really important to us. So I would look for, as a superintendent, well, who has the most stringent guidelines to protect our student data, because I don't want
Hmm.
it getting out there. I mean, that would have to come first.
Sure.
Um, Ease of use. What
Hmm.
kind of training is provided? Is there any training provided? Because the worst thing you can do is to purchase a tool, roll it out, and then say, "Hey, if you have any questions, let us know."
Mm,
You can't do that today. If districts are going to invest all this money in technology, they must have the training to back it up and to offer the not just the teachers but the administrators as well. Shouldn't be on a tech department to handle all of that.
right.
That's a shared responsibility. So again, I would be student data privacy would look at ease of use, what kind of training's involved, and of course, price. And
Mm-hmm.
that sometimes ultimately it comes down to that
Hmm.
with a superintendent. What we tried to do when I was superintendent, if there was anything we could trial for free, I would, tell our tech director, let's do it. Let's trial this for
Okay.
free. And
Free trial.
yeah, and securely we, and a lot of I believe our other competitors as well, may offer a free 30-day trial. I think that's really important. Again, you pick not just some key teachers, but maybe teachers who will be brutally honest
Right.
on their assessment of the tool. And I do want to go back to a second for before we did our our iPad program with Apple. We had tested iPads out in a couple of grade levels. We were fortunate that we had several local businessmen who provided us kind of seed money startup that we can purchase some iPads for a few different grade levels. I think we did start elementary and maybe a couple middle school grade levels. Um, Again, getting our feet wet. How would
Hmm.
teachers utilize this tool? What were the student responses to it? We tested and did all that before we move forward with K-12, the entire
A
district.
larger rollout. Yeah.
That
And
is
how did
that
that program go? How did that go? 1-to-1 iPads. I mean, was it
if
was it?
if we it's funny, by the end of that first year, if we would have said to students, we're not sure this was the right move. We're going to take them back. There would have been
There's
enough.
that
There
boom.
would have been
Right,
enough
right, right,
rising.
right. So,
Because
and
the
I
students
say,
they found different ways to utilize the iPad that we didn't even think of,
right, right.
and positive education ways. And the other thing that we did too was the one-to-one device wasn't to be the end all be all. In other
Hmm.
words, don't sit the students in front of them for every single class period. They
Right, right,
were
right.
a resource. And, again, there are a lot of articles out there now about screen time. The whole idea of one-to-one was that extra tool for the teachers to have in their toolbox. But I also emphasize in our district, because I heard from so many business people, the doctors, lawyers, I heard from construction superintendents like, hey, we have iPads on the job site now.
Yeah.
Your kids need to know how to utilize these tools if they're going to come work for us. The armed services, there's tech. And my
Yeah.
argument used to be everywhere we look, there's technology. We
Yeah.
have to make sure our kids are trained as best as we can.
Isn't that
So,
AI now? Isn't that right now how the conversation's being framed around AI? I
yes.
mean, that's exactly the question. And now that but I think it's the bigger challenge. Like with iPads, that's to your point, this is a whole different animal. And
Mhm. Yep.
being a user of it myself and trying to use it as much as I can in so many different ways, like trying out Claude Code and all these different things, a co-work, and just trying to get really deep into it. It moves so fast. I mean, there's this anxiety level that I have in my stomach when I wake up that I know how much I don't know, and I know how much, because I see the opportunity and I see unlimited opportunity if you can harness it. How amazing things you can be just to create. I mean, just as a creator, like I don't like to use it as a consumptive tool. I like think about like creating with it. I'll give you an example where I was using like a SharePoint. So my product has a bill of materials in it, right? And so we've got drones and launch pads and batteries and props, and it's a 32 piece bill of materials in my kit, right?
Right.
From little koala bears, for our little missions to whatever. And so my third party logistics company would just use a SharePoint Excel sheet that they would update. It had these rows and this thing. And when I kind of inherited back after some moves we had to do to take, I took over inventory. And I'll tell you this because it's just fast. It's just blowing my mind that I was able to do this. I was looking and going, okay, well, what if I need to plan for 20 kits? Like if I look at the pipeline of the sales team and I go, okay, we've got 20 kits in the next month. How do I gauge what I'm going to need to spend? I don't want to spend too much, right? Because I got to put this stuff on the shelves. Is there some alert system that we have that can email me when something drops below a certain point? And then if I can see that, how much do I have to spend? And I just thought, this doesn't do it. The spreadsheet I would take their thing, put it in a Google sheet, do a Delta kind of thing. Now, this is what is in a kit. This is what, and I was one day, I kept hearing people talk about Claude Code. And I was like, I'm going in. And I went in and I spent about 10 hours working it and using it. And I built this inventory management tool that is, I will tell you, it is so good. It's made just for us. My warehouse can go in. And then I remember thinking, because I used to work over at this place, long story, but I know the people that pick our materials, right? And then there was a piece for just them. So I could configure kits. I could go in and adjust inventory levels. I could then say, well, look, here's my base kit. If I want 10, what's the delta over here? What do I need? What do I have? Right. And then inside their part, there was just a thing of a pick, receive, just receive and ship. And I remember thinking, I'd built the whole thing, right? And I remember going, wait a minute, this has to be like simple for them because they won't use it. And I remember going, and I know a lot of them are English as a second language. And so I said, well, wait a minute, can't we just put a little button on there that converts their section to Spanish? And can I just have a little toggle? Yeah. 2 minutes, done. Relaunch, boom. I'm like, look, toggle on, toggle off. I know that if I had tried to build that thing a year ago, $20,000. I know it. I know it because I've tried. And months of work dealing with an outside vendor who doesn't understand what I want. Every time you got to go make a change. So my point is this. I went off on a tangent because I'm just blown away that I was able to do it. Now I'm addicted. I'm like, what else can I build? I was like, who needs an app? Like, who needs something? Mom, you need something built? I'm just like, I want to. So, but to these kids, they're the ones that are going to need to learn. So we go back to your AI. It's yes, responsible prompting.
Right.
And how do you utilize these tools? Because that is the biggest issue, right? I mean,
yes.
My kid's 20. He's going through it right now. Mm-hmm. He's in school. He's in like, what am I going to do? Like, he hears all these stories that nobody's getting hired. AI is going to take all our jobs. And I'm like, well, it's a tool. Let me show you how I was able to use it.
Right.
Now, did I just put some down the street programmer out of business? Potentially. But did I save my business money? Yes. So I think it goes both ways, right? And if you could walk into now imagine if you could walk into a business, a company, and go, let me show you how I saved this company roughly $20,000 by just being in-house and building showing them how to do it.
Yes.
But it's got to be at the school level, though. You need these guardrails. I understand why. So 100%. That's where it becomes tricky. I think the challenge with AI at the schools is should I or should I not? I think the answer is, are you kidding me? Why even ask that question? That's how. And how do we, because it is very different than the internet, because you can dialogue with this thing, and you can start to, and it will respond back, right? Unless there are certain parameters put in place. And so I think that's the big question is, how are we going to teach kids to use it as a tool, and not just to write copy? That's kind of like I think that was like V1 use case of, let me see, it can write my thing for me. No, I think the bigger use cases are, how do I automate things? Like when you think about co-work and skills, like how do I set up a system? I'll give you another example. Yeah. I have a few little businesses that I run. In addition to this, I have a little agency and I have nothing. And so I have like multiple email accounts, and I think a lot of us do.
Yeah.
And all of them most of them, not all of them, the important ones are tied to like a Google workplace. So even though it says dronelegends.com or this.com, it's still a Google. So I have, Google Calendar and Google Drive. And but some days I find myself with 3 different email tabs trying to coordinate calendars. And I thought, hey, Mr. Claude, here's my problem. And instead of waking up in the morning and when I open up my browser tab and it's on my news page or something, could it open to like Lifeboard, like a dashboard that's just got curating all my email streams? My calendars are all there together. It's got maybe my few bucketed tasks that I want to see, maybe some goals and some objectives and some like bottlenecks or just, but really, can I see like everything on one page? And so I started to build it.
Yeah. And summarize it.
And I've got a working prototype. It functions. It's like, now I just need some dressing. So again, I go back to say all that because these are the ways to use it. And who's teaching these kids how to do that?
Yeah. And we have to teach the adults, the teachers and the educators, the best way to utilize these. And because again, if you don't give the teachers the tools, how the kids are going to try and learn it on their own. That's what they're going to do.
That's right.
Instead of teachers providing, good examples and saying, hey, these are best case scenarios for usage of AI. So if I'm sitting at home at night, I start to think about, what did my teacher say about that? Yeah. How do I do that prompt? Something came to mind when you were describing building that inventory thing. So for student usage, I'll refer back to music. Why not, if I'm a high school musician and I'm trying to better prepare myself, ask Claude or Gemini, ChatGPT, whatever it may be, design a practice schedule for me that I can get the most out of my practice. Here's my instrument. Here's what level I'm at. Here are some musical things that I struggle with. What do you recommend? What's the best way? To me, that's constructive, because Maybe I have
Absolutely, it
a
is.
mental block. Like I can't figure
Yeah,
this out. Why can't I do that? Why do I have trouble
yeah,
with 16th notes or 30-second notes?
right.
Ask the AI, and the AI come up with a schedule. I use it, Scott. It's not a little bit with work, but like personal things. We have this out behind our house. We have this. I don't know. There's this nice rock wall, and there's this bank of dirt. Like there's like we've tried planting there, and my wife's finally like, can we do something this summer with this? And and we've racked our brains. And I was out there measuring the one day. Do we put river rocks? What do we do with this? And I'm like, wait a minute. And I took a picture,
Hmm.
went into Chat GPT. I'm like, what would you do with this? I'm at a
Yeah,
loss. And it came back with some great photos. I
so
showed it
cool
my wife,
ideas.
and she's like, this is it. Like,
Right,
those are
right.
constructive ways to do it. So,
Very constructive
again,
ways.
or if I'm a high school athlete, how can I better my workouts, or how can I better
Nutrition or whatever it is.
nutrition,
Right.
improve
Yeah.
my performance? How do I improve academically?
Now, nutrition, did you see the meme that I put on LinkedIn a few weeks ago about the mushroom? So
No, I
this is where
didn't.
it
I
gets
must have missed
really,
that.
really important. So it's a two panel, top and bottom. And the
Okay.
top panel has, a little like cartoon dummy
Yeah.
stick figure, and it just says AI on it. And it's got a mushroom in a hand with like stalk with the red with the dots. It says,
Yeah.
is this edible? And then the bottom screen there's a rip thing, and it says, oh, yes, it's edible, but it's also, I'm sorry, it's poisonous. Would you like to learn about poisonous mushrooms? And I posted this thinking, oh, isn't that funny how AI gets it wrong? Right. But somebody
Mhm.
corrected me, and I'm not going to, I saw I'm not giving her credit. She said, no, the prompt was incorrect because technically it is edible once.
Once, yeah, one time.
But it's edible. You didn't say, is this mushroom poisonous? You said, is this mushroom edible? Now, but that's the nuance, right? So when I went nutrition,
Exactly.
I went, ooh, wait, because there's a lot of misinformation that it's pulling from. So those are the kinds of things, though, that we're talking about, like how
Yes.
powerful a tool it can be, but how you must understand critical, and I think this is really important, critical thinking.
Yes.
Of how to really think about, like, what am I getting back? How do I assess it can save you a lot of time, but then you need to go back in and really take a look at like what the output is and say, okay, how do I vet this against other information to make sure it's safe? It's quote unquote correct, depending upon what it is. I think safety's thing. Food is an immediate one, right? Do I eat this? Should I ingest this, right? Should I take creatine? Well, I don't know. Should you? I don't know. What's the science say and how much? So it's very nuanced. Let me ask you this. If somebody's building an EdTech product and they are looking to integrate AI into it, could they work with you and securely to build a safety layer on top of it?
You mean on top of what we're already doing?
No. So say, for example, I want to start a new company and I want to build an AI agent inside of something. Let's say I'm doing an EdTech, let's call it drones or whatever it is. Sure. And inside the curriculum, I'm going to have an AI agent or something AI that's going to allow the kids to interact. Could I work with securely to say, hey, I want to put an AI into my product for schools? Could we say that our AI is safeguarded by securely because it's not just open, it's closed and it's secure because it's got the securely stamp on it? Is that an option?
Well, that's above me. That's something, they would have to let's talk to our leadership, but also our product people. That's a question that the product folks could better. They would have to get a look at the tool and really kind of take it apart and run testing, etc. There would have to be a really rigorous process before securely would ever say, put a securely
That's what I'm right. But I'm wondering if that's an option for you guys, or if that's something that people could look at and go, hey, I do want to put AI into my educational product, but I know that there's going to be some issues with that, questions with that. I don't want to say issues, questions from the district. And if we were able to say, well, yes, it's AI, but our AI is safeguarded by the securely
Right.
constraint, maybe
Yeah.
it makes a difference. Maybe it makes a difference, and you guys have the credentials. It's something to think about. I don't know. It's just a thought.
Yeah.
Oh, let's see. Where do we go from here, Jeff? So let's talk about your. So tell me about. So you're with Securely now.
Yep.
And I understand what you guys are doing. I think it's great. So districts can, when people are listening to this, they can come look you up. You're on LinkedIn. We're going to look at LinkedIn. Where do you see education? This is good. Where do you see it going?
Well,
I mean, I got to tell you, like, where are we? And what do you see happening in education over the next 5 years? Even I just look at how fast things are moving. This is not internet. Internet
no,
moved at a snail's pace compared to this. This is wild.
it is. Boy, is that, and that's a tough question. I thought when the pandemic hit, another superintendent friend of mine, we went through our admin program together, got our masters and all together. And we used to say initially during the pandemic, like, this is a moment for education to really say, hey, it's time to change things up. Like, let's not go back to the way we used to do things.
Mm,
I think we kind of missed that
mm,
somewhat. I think there was some shifting back to, well, this is how we did it before the pandemic. I don't think we truly took that issue and just said, now we've got to rethink things. So AI now comes along and it's forcing districts to really rethink what they're doing. Oh, where do I see education going? Wow. I think it's a goal and opportunity again for educators to embrace this new technology, look for leadership and support that. It can't just be on all educators, Scott, to do this. Like, they can't do it alone. You've got to work within your business people, your business community, local, state, federal leaders. Everybody has to be in this together. You can't just turn
mm-hmm.
education and say, well, figure it out. That you
Right,
can't,
right, right, right.
because I'll take a step back. Education plays a part in everything that we do as a country, as a society. If you don't have a good education system, it will have a direct impact on your economy, your relationships, everything that we're about as a society. If you don't have a good education system, it without a doubt is going to impact that. So I think we're at a place now. We've got so many great minds working on all of these different parts. Now's the time to try and put it all together with AI and say, where do we want our students to be 5 years from now? And let's not just talk about test scores, because there's more than just test scores when we're talking
For
about
sure.
this. Let's look at a whole picture. And there are some districts, doing that now. Forget about the test. We need to create individuals, give them the skills they need, whether they're going on to college, armed forces, or right out into the working world. It's on us to give them the skills that they need. So I just believe we need to take this point in time and talk, like I
Yeah.
said, across all these levels and say, let's come up with a game plan. Where do we want to be? Because as you said, I mean, every day AI is just changing
Every day
dramatically.
it's something
So you
changes
can't,
that just changes
yeah,
it.
you can't expect the educators to keep up with that.
They
They
won't
need
they won't
help.
be able to.
No, there needs to be a team effort on that. And, that's what we're doing at Securely. We're trying to provide resources for the educators. Come talk to us. We're more than happy to give you some insight and some input.
Mm,
But that has to come from all levels. If we
yeah.
really truly want our kids to succeed, it has to become a global conversation. We just have to do that. So
Yeah.
I just think there'll be so many changes. For me to
You
sit,
can't anticipate what they are.
it's too hard.
I can't even begin to imagine. I'm seeing these new things, contract based, outcomes based contracting. Have you seen this?
Yes,
So
yes,
that's interesting. Where
it's very interesting.
schools are going to start holding ed tech companies to task. They'll be like, no, payments are contingent upon reaching some outcomes
Yeah,
based milestones, and so ed tech
yeah,
companies are going to have to start demonstrating outcomes and what those KPIs are and those data remain to be seen.
Right. And with a lot of our tools, we already have that built-in data set, which is great. But you're right. I some of my last few school boards that I dealt with, they would always be like, show us the data. Like show us the data.
The data.
Why should we purchase this or why should we renew it?
That's right.
Can you give us the data?
That's
and there were times when we didn't have the data because we couldn't get it. And that's one aspect I really like here at Securely is like we're not just focused on the student data privacy, but when the district needs data, we can provide the data. Here's the impact we're having on your students. That speaks volumes to a school board member. Hey, you're having this much positive impact. Sure, I can support this.
That's right.
And that's with our AI. With our classroom management tool, teachers can see what AI prompts the students are, asking AI for help with. Again, that's going to help the teachers drive and revise their curriculum. We're giving them insight. We're giving them data. They can act on it. But then we can give the district a summary as well. So if a school board a school board member asks, well, how many inappropriate prompts are we seeing? We can give them a breakdown of that, and we can break down what areas any inappropriate prompts in. We did a quick data release a month or so ago, and overwhelming majority of the prompts were schoolwork based. That's all. I think it was 96%. Perfect. That's
good.
Where we want to see it. But as kids begin experimenting, some of those other numbers, might change in areas that concern us. So again, we've got to train the educators so they can train the students in the proper ways. Here's how you utilize AI, to grow as a person, as a human.
Wow. Interesting. Very good. Well, listen, this was wonderful. Thank you very much. People can find you on LinkedIn. We're going to link to you. Yeah. That's where you're most active.
Yes.
That's where most people can find you and follow you is on LinkedIn, right?
100%. Yep. That's
and
the
you're
social
with
media
Securely. So we're going to link you to LinkedIn. You guys want to talk to Jeff, you can find him there. That's how I found him. He's very active there and we're going to link there. Jeff, don't go anywhere. We're going to hang up and we'll chat afterwards. But everybody,
okay.
Dr. Zwiebel, thank you. Very nice to see you. Take care. Thanks for being here. Appreciate it.
Thank you.